So a few years ago, I decided to do something that was not considered normal. I decided to follow a call I felt on my heart. I decided that this urging in me that I just couldn't ignore it anymore. And so I quit the day-to-day job and I decided to run for office, run for US Congress. Never held office before. But it was something I really felt called to make a difference, to help people around me. And with all the input that was around me, it felt like that was the right thing to do. And so I took the leap of faith, believing that God had put that call on my heart and that it was the right thing to do at that time. Pretty much as soon as I did that, I started being persecuted, I guess, is the only way to really say it. Is that people that I had depended on, that I had trusted, that I had loved, decided they weren't going to love me back or love me because of this decision, that they weren't going to accept me in what I felt was the right thing to do. It was scary. It was it was scary for me. I know it was scary for her. I can't blame her for being upset, but what she decided to do when she decided to abandon me and smear my name and claim all sorts of false things about me, she caused a lot of pain in my life. And there for a while, it seemed like every attempt I took to get over this pain, every action I took to find fairness, find justice, either in the legal system or even with the family or the church. I was kind of constantly let down. Let down's not really a strong enough word. Eventually, I just became crushed. Everything I had trusted in and depended on failed me. Um, and it was at a time where I thought my faith was strong. And you don't really know how strong something is until it's tested, I suppose. But going through this divorce and all the just horrible things associated with it, kids being taken away, it's just devastating. And seeing how hurt they were, how they still are, just like 4 years later, they're still just hurt and struggling and looking for a place to belong, looking to put the pieces of their life together. You know, what they trusted, the family always being together. Family meaning you never give up on each other, that you love each other unconditionally. Well, that family doesn't mean the same thing to them anymore. And seeing their pain, it just rips me apart. And, you know, I'm not saying I'm perfect in any way, in any means, and anything I've ever done or tried. But in this marriage, I tried. And I thought that if I tried and did everything right that I knew how to do, that if I answered all of my, or majority of my wife's worries or fears or anything that made her discomfort and just completely cater to her, I thought it would make her happy. But it turns out you can't make people happy that aren't already happy. Joy and happiness comes from the inside. And if you think happiness comes from what you get, you'll never be happy because you just never get enough. Joy comes from other people always doing the right thing and always doing what you expect, and other people always creating your joy. And people are going to let you down, and you're not going to find joy. Or you'll have joy when something's new, and then it fades quickly. But my wife being a person like that, who couldn't really accept anything for its good merits, always looking for the critical, always looking for what's wrong. I didn't realize it when we married, but it consumed all parts of her life. Still consumes all parts of her life. But that view she carried, it ended up just completely rocking my world. And there was nothing I could do. There was nowhere I could turn. Nobody who could help me. And after the court ruling, and after the legal system showing it doesn't really care about dads, it doesn't care about kids really, it's, at least this judge was just completely for the mom, no matter what. Didn't care about the facts. The attorney would claim something that was completely false, and the judge didn't seek the truth, or wouldn't accept the truth after the false narrative was presented. But so after the judge ruled pretty much completely in my wife's favor and took my kids, I got to see my kids 4 days a month. Yeah, that was an improvement over the first time where I only got to see them 2 days a month. Um, but I had first, I thought I was depending on God to take care of me and take care of my family and to keep us all together and to deal with my wife's worry and fear, and trusted that her faith was strong, that her faith was what she presented. But then when she left the first time, it just crushed me. And then when she filed for divorce, I began trusting in attorneys and the legal system to take care of me. Being completely naive, I've never gone through anything in the legal system before. I didn't know how it worked, so I trusted attorneys. Turns out attorneys, they're taking care of their career. They're more concerned about working in conjunction with the opposing attorney because they have a relationship with them. They're going to keep working with them. They're going to be working with that other attorney for years, as long as they're in practice. So they're more concerned about preserving that relationship. Then attorneys are concerned about looking good to the judge. They want, the judge is essentially the boss. If the judge likes him, maybe he'll rule in their favor. But I can no longer call it the justice system. It's the legal system. It's just a system of lawyers making backroom deals, not worrying about the outcome of the clients. Clients are just a person who pays the bills. Attorney doesn't want to be bothered with working hard, with exposing the truth, with doing what's right. Sounds kind of harsh, but I went through 3 attorneys trying to find somebody that would actually do what was right to protect me, protect my kids. And so, but I could never find an attorney to protect my kids. So I trusted the judge to protect my kids, and he just did his status quo, what he always does. This is just another case of whatever it was. He was like 10 a day, 5 days a week. Yeah, this case wasn't anything special to him. It was just another case that he wanted off his desk. So I learned a lot through this process. Divorce and the legal system and attorneys and judges. But I learned something more important that I never ever would have known unless I lived through it. That dads are just considered disposable. From my experience, court system considers dads worthless, just replaceable. The wife, she'll go off, get married, kids will get another dad. Kids will be fine. It's pretty far from the truth. But so when I was devastated, the judge ruling just took everything from me. My wife, my kids, money, put me in a situation that I had no ability to pay everything that the judge wanted me to pay. None. I was hopeless. There was no possible way I could pay it. And it was just a crushing blow, and I was just preparing to go to jail for for contempt of the court order for not paying. And thank thank God, thankfully, man, thank God, my dad came through. He showed that he was always there. Something that maybe I didn't really know growing up. I wanted to know, wanted him to be there, but I didn't really feel it. Um, Probably my problem, my perception and not reality. Kind of like my wife's situation where she couldn't receive anything without finding a problem with it. So anyway, I was crushed. And since I had no hope, I had nowhere else to turn to look for hope. Everybody had let me down. I felt, you know, the legal system had let me down. All the attorneys, people I paid to take care of me, didn't. The judge, whose job is to take care of people, didn't. They just did their normal thing. I was just a number or whatever. And I'd completely lost trust, lost faith in God. Like, God, I depended on you. Why in the world are you letting this happen to me and to my kids? There's part of me like, okay, well, maybe I deserve this. Maybe I've messed up a lot in life. I've done a bunch of stuff I'm not proud of. And there was that kind of thought that kept popping up, like, well, maybe you deserve this. But my kids didn't. They're completely innocent. And just seeing how my kids were crushed from this, just crushed. Still breaks my heart every time I see it. Every time they talk about it. I don't know where they belong. They don't. They can't understand their whole perception of what love is. Whole perception about what love is destroyed. Love doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, yeah, they get love from their parents. They get love from me. They get love from my wife, but they see my wife and I not loving each other. And they don't have a place for that in their mind. Kids love everybody. They're like God, they just love you no matter what. They love everybody. You see a little toddler going around my oldest son when he probably couldn't even talk yet, but he was walking, and we'd go to a restaurant and he would just walk around the restaurant giving hugs to all the other little kids. It was just, it was the most amazing thing. You go to a playground and you see kids playing together. It doesn't matter what their race is or parents' political views or what grade they in, what clothes they're wearing. Nothing matters. They're just friends. They're just loving each other. They play with each other, and when they leave, they're sad to part with each other. And so when kids see their parents who they love so much, when the kids see their parents not love each other, it starts to unravel something. And it's really the whole seams of how God made everything. You know, love each other. God is love. Love God. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself. The story of like the Good Samaritan. You know, calling out people who aren't being loving, and then the people that have been at odds fighting each other, the two different cultures, there were two different races, two different political parties crossing over the boundaries to help each other. That's just a beautiful thing of how God made us to work. There's a force out there in the world that's wants us to hate, to be angry, to tear each other apart, to stab each other in the back. Yeah, it's the devil. It's evil. It's the complete opposite of everything that's good. And the devil is using those tools to destroy divorce, to destroy marriages, to destroy marriages with divorce, to destroy marriages with divorce, to destroy kids in their childhood. If he gets them early enough, maybe they'll never truly accept love again. If they can't accept love, they can't accept God. But so anyway, I was saying that love is such an important thing to people. To humans, we're built that way. And when love is taken from us, when love is shown not to be true and everything you trust is torn apart, you see no end in sight, you see no hope, you're hopeless, you're in despair, there's nothing that you can do. There's nowhere you can turn. There's no person that can do it for you. It's just hopeless. With 50% of marriages ending in divorce, and maybe a lot of people get to that hopeless point. And then even the people who aren't married, or never married, or are married and not happy, and whatever the situation is. A lot of people, I think, get to that hopeless point one way or another in their own perspective, that they don't really see a way out, that they're just kind of surviving life. They're not really living, they're just trying to survive. And when my method, when I tried to survive, you just try to numb, just turn your brain off. Like, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm just looking not to hurt anymore. And in order not to hurt, I have to turn off, because reality is just too painful. And so I spend a lot of time in front of the TV. Just want to watch somebody else have fun. I want to laugh. I want to be happy. I do it through some sitcom, some made up story better than my life. So I'm going to watch that and have some sort of semblance of joy, of happiness. And that'll be good for not hurting for a while. And then you bring in drinking, substances. People choose whatever they want. I was drinking to numb. I just fell back into my old habits, things that I had done before. They didn't work and didn't make me happy before, but it's kind of what I knew, and it was a coping mechanism so that I wouldn't have to hurt so bad. You just turn off. Man, when you are just hurting so bad, you can't find a solution. You just have to find a way to survive. And a distraction, a numbing, it kind of seems like it's the most common way to survive. But if you look at that as a symptom of what is going on in our society, I mean, we have a huge, huge problem where people are feeling hopeless, and they're turning to 8 hours of TV a day. It's after they get home from working 8 to 12 hours. And instead of living, they're watching somebody else live. They're numbing their mind with just watching TV. The drinking and drugs and the self-medicating to cope with despair, cope with fear, with depression, with unhappiness, cope with their life as they see it. It's a huge, huge problem. So I kept trying to, when I was going through my deepest despair, I kept trying to have faith. I kept searching. Even I didn't really have faith. I didn't really have hope. I didn't trust in God to help me, or believe that He would, or that He could, or that He cared. It kind of went on for a couple years, I guess. And I would still read my Bible hoping that I would find something, but not really believing that I would. And even if I saw something that was encouraging, I would doubt it or try to find some way that it wasn't accurate or true. It's like, man, you say you want to believe, but the way you're talking, the way you're acting, you don't. You don't want to believe that there's hope and joy. You're just looking at the situations and try to cover it up with some religiosity. It just doesn't get you anywhere. And so I had completely, well, I say completely, I'd given up on a lot of stuff. Just wanting help, wanting hope, but numbing was just easier. Like, it wasn't until one of my buddies, he's a pastor. He's just an amazing individual. He came over and he just kind of sat with me. He listened to me talk for a while. And then he shared with me his story, and he shared with me the story of other people that he has worked with in the past. And how they have suffered so much. And how through all their suffering, they eventually found their way back to God. And they found their way back to God, and they were just renewed. Their body, their life was just revived. And it was at that point, hearing the stories of other people, that other people have suffered so much, and they found a way out. They found a way to live again, not just to numb and survive and just go to work and just do the daily thing, the daily grind, and revert back to their TV, but they learned to live again with hope and passion and joy, and happiness. It was a spark for me, just a spark. And that spark is what I needed. It was other people's stories, but the spark, was in here. It was in me. It just took the smallest glimpse of real hope, not manufactured wanting to hope, desiring to hope, but not seeing hope where I'm looking. It was a real true story by a real person about a situation that was similar or worse than mine, and they overcame it. And looking at my life, I saw that I was looking back towards the pain, and I was just living in that pain instead of looking for the opportunities in this moment, instead of looking at the future God had for me. I kept praying, God, just, when I was in my darkest times, just, God, I just want a future. I don't see a future for me. I don't see it. I don't understand it. I can't get past this thing in my past. I can't get beyond it. I'm stuck. And I carried that stuckness for a while, and I completely removed myself from anything that was loving. I removed myself from anybody that showed me love, thinking that it was fake. I removed myself from anything that was encouraging. I removed myself from any exercise that would kind of rejuvenate my body. But hearing those people's stories, that testimony, that and going through all that pain, eventually I came to the conclusion that people need to hear other people's stories. People need to see there's hope for their situation. They need to see that other people have gone through it, that they're not alone, that they're not just a one-off situation, that they're not somebody that God is just kicking. God's just not kicking them when they're down, that God hasn't cared about them. But people need to see that people before them, they've gone through the exact same thing, and they come out of the situation saying, wow, I'm better off now. And you hate to hear that, like when you're in the pain, it's just something you just can't accept. But some things that really change your life for the good can't be understood or seen or experienced or believed until you live through it. Until you experience it, you just can't understand what somebody else has gone through. And that pain can really bring about a new thing in your life. And I think this pain has brought something new to my life. I never knew how important testimony, story, community, conversation, really friendship. Never knew how important it was. But we need each other. We need to hear each other's stories. And that's why I want everyone to share their story. I want everybody to share the pain that they've gone through. We're all people. We've all been through something at some point in our lives. We've all been through pain. We've been in pain. We've been hopeless and suffered. And we're still suffering in some things. I don't know if suffering ever goes away. But when you suffer, you find new meaning in Scripture. Maybe it takes suffering to be able to understand some verses. And so I think everybody, no matter what their situation is, no, if they're in the middle of suffering and they haven't finished, they haven't completed their healing, even if they have one little spark of hope, even if they don't have that spark, even if they don't know the way out, I think people need to share their story. Stories are so powerful. Personal stories, personal experience. It is extremely powerful. So be there for your fellow man, your fellow person. It doesn't have to be anything high production value or whatever. Just hit that record button and just let it go. Just start talking. And just on your phone, or whatever. And I think it can make a huge impact in our community, in our nation, in our world. It can reach almost everybody. And I sure do believe that it will be a source, a spark of hope that at least one person in the world is looking for. So don't be shy, don't be embarrassed, don't overthink it. Just record it and send it in. And just think of that one possibility of it helping somebody, of your story helping another individual. You matter. Your story matters. Your pain can be used for good. Please share. Thank you.